Hello everyone, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and this slightly sad looking individual here, and don't worry about it at all, is actually my Sanford Curafora. Now the reason this one looks like this, looks so bad, is it was actually wilting because it was so dry, because I hadn't watered it since November, and we're now in the middle of April. It's been in my summer house, and I dropped it in a bucket of water to let it soak rather than just watering it in the normal way, and it actually floated sideways and all the soil came out the top. So that's prompted me into the fact that it obviously could do with a repot anyway, and I'm going to move it into the proverbial 511 compost. The plant actually looks extremely healthy, and this is one of the more cold hardy citrus, so I was pretty sure it was going to have no problems in the greenhouse. And you can see the leaves are very much more elongated and lanceolate than most of the other citrus I've got, which have the more rounded leaves. These are very much similar. These look quite a lot like mandarin or satsuma leaves in terms of their shape, rather than sort of oranges and lemons that tend to have a much rounder shaped leaf, and they have quite a short, narrow petiole at the base of the leaf. But this has flowered for me and fruited before. The fruits, on the other hand, are extremely small, probably because it's a very young unestablished plant, and I think it will produce bigger fruits in future, but it's proving to be quite tough at the moment. And I'm going to put it into the same size sort of what I believe are 2-gallon pots, about sort of 9-litre pots that I'm using for all my other citruses. It'll keep them all nice and uniform and easier to store each winter, and then eventually they'll all move up to bigger pots. But I'm going to make sure it's well fed, and we'll give it a good soaking after I've repotted, so I'll come back to you after I've popped it into one of the new pots. Actually, I just thought for a few seconds I'd come back and show you before I repotted it. This one has got, as you can see, a very healthy root system. It's obviously benefited from being dry over winter. Surprisingly, for an Italian growing one, this one actually originally came from Oscar Tintori, didn't have a particularly heavy clayish soil in the middle. It was quite an open, peaty, barky type soil, and it seems to have benefited the plant, and it hasn't suffered any root problems that some of my other citrus have had. So I'm going to pop this into the typical 511 type mix I'm using, give it a good watering, and I'll probably leave this one outside, as we should be getting some reasonably decent, reasonably mild weather in the next week or two. And we're going to have a lot of rain apparently, so I might have to just watch it doesn't get too much watering, but it should drain pretty quickly in that sort of open, barky soil. So I'll pause the video and come back to you when I've got it into its pot. So here we are, it's in its new home now, which I think it'll be probably okay in this pot for a good 2 or 3 years. It's not a particularly large growing vigorous plant. Now, as you can see, it is looking a bit sad at the moment in terms of being a bit wilted, but I think it's probably already picked it up since I popped it in the bucket of water when I brought it out. And in actual fact, if we look very closely, you might be able to see it's just starting at the tips to send out new shoots. It's probably a good time to have repotted it before it gets into its growth cycle, and I think probably most of the shoots are starting to produce new buds. So it needed it was in a very small pot, probably only about a 2-litre pot, so it was well and truly pot bound and did need to be repotted. So I think that as we've got some rain coming all week, I think it'll be quite beneficial to the plant to get rained on. It won't be a particularly cold rain if the weather forecast is to be reliable. There's a bit of a cool wind at the moment, but I think, to be honest, that won't be a problem, because I'll leave them protected on the along the side of my decked area, so they won't get too exposed to the wind, and hopefully this will pick up quite quickly. But obviously I'll do an update on it if anything interesting happens, or if we have any problems with it. So that's my Sanford Curafora. I'm not going to go through the Latin name because it's a cross between about 2 or 3 citrus and it's too complicated, but I'm sure you can look it up if you wish to. And I'll obviously appreciate if you give me a thumbs up, You could share the video if you think anybody would be interested in one of these more unusual citrus in the UK. Please do subscribe to my channel and click on the bell if you'd like to know when new videos come out. I'll catch up with you all soon. Brett out for now.